What is up, y'all? Mental Health Coach here. And I want to answer a question, or rather, I want to ask a question. Is it true that women are more complex and difficult when it comes to communication? You know, this is a narrative that we tend to hear societally, so often. It's a very common thing. It's almost a cliche at this point. But we definitely hear it, particularly as it relates to men and, when groups of men get together and they converse with one another. What is it that they say when it comes to their wives, their partners, their friends, what have you? They'll say, something like, it'll take a guy 10 seconds to say something. Who, what, when, where, why, and that's it. Men are efficient. Men are straight to the point. But women, they make it sound as if women, go in circles and they're explaining all of these pointless elements and details that aren't necessary to the communication. Or perhaps they say that when women communicate, it is this elaborate, just amalgamation of stuff that's completely unnecessary and overly detailed. So the question is to you, is it true? Well, I would say on average that yes, women do tend to employ more complexity in the ways in which they communicate, but it is not because women are inherently more complex. It's actually relating to a difference between the capacities that men are trained to develop due to our society and our conditioning and the capacities that women are trained to develop. Because the thing is not that women are complex, it's that communication in itself is complex. And what men are identifying as a feminine trait is in fact a trait of communication or multiple traits of communication that they're simply not aware of because they haven't been conditioned to focus on them. So to be rather blunt about it, this is a situation that really refers to ignorance being bliss. When we talk about men being more efficient when it comes to their communication, and obviously these are all generalizations, I'm referring to these generalizations, but we understand the necessary implication of individuality when we're talking about people. But when we look at it from this perspective, it really is the fact that so many men who see things this way is because of the fact that they have oversimplified interactions between one another. And so it's not in fact that they are better because it takes them less time to say something, but it's simply a fact that there are so many other elements that they're not even aware of, that they're sitting there doing algebra while the women are doing calculus 3, but they're judging the women for making it a more complex ordeal. For example, did you know that 55% of communication is nonverbal? And in fact, only 7% of it is based upon your words. If two people are talking to one another, only 7% of the communication is the words coming out of your mouth. 38% is vocal elements, your pitch, your tone, the way you're enunciating your words, the way you enunciate can determine whether or not you're being authentic or genuine or sarcastic. And then the other 55% is nonverbal cues. What is your posture? What is your body language saying? All of these are complex elements. And so when we limit communication to simply be that 7%, it's like, no, that's not efficiency. To be honest, it's ignorance. So ultimately, no, this is not a male versus female thing. This isn't a gender issue. But societally, we make it a gender issue because we perceive it incorrectly. Yes, women do tend to be more in tune with some of these more nuanced elements, like, the way emotions play in, the way that different factors play in, past events and past experiences can be involved. Whereas men are not trained to think about these things so often on average because of the fact that it's like, men are thinking, okay, A plus B equals C. I'm thinking about where I want to go. I'm thinking about what I want to do. I'm thinking about all this stuff. They're not thinking about their internal world in the same way that men are taught, hey, don't deal with your emotions. Hey, don't cry. Hey, don't verbalize these things that are going on in here. And so the men are looking at everything as if the external world is the only world, whereas so many of the women are aware of the fact that there is an internal world that is imposing key elements on the external world. And so when they communicate, it is imbued with that complexity. And so, no, it's not a gender issue. But anybody who's saying that women are so complex and they're so difficult and XYZ, shut your mouth, bro. Shut your mouth. Love y'all. Mental Muscle Coach out. Peace.